Hello, everybody, and welcome on this early morning. Thank you, Alex, for getting up to episode 17 of Two Takes with Alex and Tate. Uh, yeah, we are kicking off a little early this morning. We both had things to do. So, Alex, I don't think has been up at this hour since I've known him back when we were in college, but we appreciate him making the effort. And you look plenty chipper today. I think it's gonna go good. How are you feeling?
Man, ever since moving to Pittsburgh, my earliest that I have to teach is like 2 p.m. So there's never a reason for me, especially on daylight savings day, the worst day of the year, to
Wait,
get
is it daylight savings today?
yeah, did you
I,
not know?
I didn't even know that. Uh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking there was something weird about today. It's daylight savings today. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
On air discovery right now. It's like really okay.
Well, nowadays you don't have to do it. Your all of your devices just kind of take care of that
All right.
nonsense for
My my phone said it was, a certain time, and why would I ever doubt my phone? You know what I mean? It's like I believe it.
you. But yeah, we're doing good today. We're excited. We got some things to talk about in the NBA. Wemby's doing his thing. Uh, LeBron is a monster.
Yeah.
We're about games out from the end of the regular season. So I wanted to start off though because we both love NFL and because we've both been stewing in our discussions about quarterback, which people who listen to this podcast will know that we have some pretty intense takes sometimes.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
maybe at least two of them, but uh, you get it because it's two takes with Alex and Tate. Everybody got that little
Yeah,
joke.
really good, buddy. Really good job.
I'm tired. So
Feeling it
Tate,
today.
who are your top 10 quarterbacks, and why do we have the same top 10?
All right. Tate's top 10. Here we go. Top 10 quarterbacks. I will say number 10 was the hardest spot to rank. And if you're trying to rank the quarterbacks right now, after four, I think it gets really muddy. And then after even seven or so, I think it really, really gets tough. So let me give you my honorable mentions, quarterbacks who I think had a shot and have a argument to be in someone's top 10 right now, did not make mine. Number one, Aaron Rodgers didn't make my top 10. I want to see a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles injury who didn't look good in his last healthy season play some games before I put him in my top 10 again. Could he be right back there? Absolutely. It's Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? But I do not have him in my top 10 today because the last time I saw him, uh, I'm like, okay, you got something already for me?
Well, I just, so I'm guessing Kirk Cousins isn't in this top 10 either.
He's also not in the top 10. That's correct. Yeah, Kirk Cousins was another one I was about to mention. He's 36 coming off an Achilles injury. I got to see these guys play a couple games before they're back in my top. Kirk Cousins may or may not have been in the top 10 anyway, to be honest. But Aaron Rodgers definitely. Uh, Jared Goff, I think, has a credible top 10 argument. Dak did not make my top 10. I just can't unsee the playoff game against Green Bay, frankly. It's like I wanted to try to put him up there, but it's like really, really, that was a bad look, man. And sometimes the ending is the most important thing. And that was really bad. And then Purdy didn't make my top 10. I think there's somewhat of a credible argument if someone wanted to say Purdy's the top 10 quarterback in the league. I would listen to it. I would listen to the argument. Not saying I would agree, obviously, because they didn't make mine, but just so everyone knows my parameters, this is if I wanted a quarterback for this coming season, both regular and postseason. Okay. So one full season, but the one season thing is important because age doesn't have anything to do with it. Even though looking at this, I really only have one older player on my list here. So let's jump into it. Number 10, like I said, I thought was really hard to rank because uh he frankly didn't have a very good season. I'm a big believer in this quarterback, but there was a couple of the guys I mentioned in my honorable mentions definitely had a better season than this guy last year, but I think the talent to me, if I have a playoff run I'm trying to go on, you want the upside. So number 10 to me is Trevor Lawrence. And again, very disappointing last season. In fact, we're getting close to him not living up to the expectations of his draft, is what I'll say. He kind of needs a bounce back year. 2 years ago, the second half in the playoff game where he comes back after the 4 picks, it's looking like, okay, this is who everyone was talking about at the draft. And then this past season, he did not look that like that guy. So some of that might be a little bit of projection, but again, this is who I would take for a full regular season and postseason next year. And the guys that I mentioned, Jared Goff, Dak, Kirk Cousins, just don't have the upside to me. And if I am trying, spoilers here, if I'm trying to slay the beast that is Patrick Mahomes, I need a lot of upside in my quarterback, I think, because it's just we've seen it with the Niners, man. You get these guys who don't quite have the same big game ability, and it's tough even no matter how well you stack the rest of the roster. So moving on to number 9, and these two were really close because both of them, frankly, had disappointing seasons last year. Herbert, well, there it is. Number 9, Justin Herbert, arguably had a more disappointing season than Trevor Lawrence. I do think and this didn't really factor into my list too much, but I do think we're going to see quite the turnaround with Harbaugh. I think most people are kind of on the same page with Herbert going into the next season, where Kellen Moore, I thought they were going to air it out and put up big numbers. He may not have been quite the offense coordinator that I thought he was, but I'm putting most of that blame on Brandon Staley. I think the culture in the locker room was just way too far gone to really take much away from last season with the Chargers, really for anybody. I don't think that defense is going to look quite as bad. I think the offense is going to be a lot better. I think Harbaugh is going to set the culture. I think they're going to run the ball. I think Justin Herbert's going to get him play action and going to let it rip down the field. I think he's going to look a lot better. So number 9, I have Justin Herbert. Now, number 8, this is where we start getting into maybe a little bit of recency bias, but something I just watched the games, and this is what my eyes tell me. And, we saw this player play a great playoff game this past year, first year starter. I have Jordan Love at number 8. I think the eye test will tell you his off platform throws, his ability to manipulate the pocket, and we've seen the playoffs aren't too big for him. He had one bad throw in 2 playoff games. Now, it just happened that it cost him the game against the Niners, but his first playoff run, that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen to almost everybody that's not Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. It's like most guys have to kind of learn how to win in the playoffs, not just in the NFL. We're going to talk plenty of basketball today. That's usually how it goes in the NBA too. Most guys, you usually kind of move in steps. And Jordan Love, I think, made a huge step as a first season starter going to Dallas, and that's why I have it. That playoff game is almost the sole reason I have him so far ahead of Dak. But when you watch them on the field together, man, it's like, oh yeah, this is different. This is a little like Jordan Love. Clearly, I thought was both from a talent and a composure standpoint the best player on the field in that playoff game. And then honestly, I thought for the first 55 minutes of the Niner game, he was by far the best player on the field too. So if I'm Green Bay, man, I feel really, really good moving forward about Jordan Love. So number 8, Jordan Love. Number 7, this is me and Alex's guy, one of our guys. Big season for this player coming up. Big season for number 7, Jalen Hurts. Before the season, I had him much higher on my list. They obviously had a disappointing year in Philly. The playoff game where they got their ass kicked in Tampa wasn't a good look for anybody in that organization. I think we will see Jalen Hurts continue to improve. He has improved more than almost any player at the quarterback position that I can remember, as far as things that are hard to improve on, like anticipating throws, throwing the ball with timing, and throwing guys open at the next level. That's not something you usually see guys get way better at. So they improve a little bit here and there. Like obviously they improve over time, but Jalen Hurts was able to make a huge jump in those kind of tough categories. in such a short amount of time. I think he's the kind of guy that's not going to stop working. I think this kind of disappointing year will make him kick it into gear even harder. I think Kellen Moore, we'll see how he does calling plays, but I think they may put it in an offense with Sirianni, hopefully doing his job too. Similar to what they had a couple years ago, where they made the Super Bowl, a lot of RPO stuff, a lot of things that played to Jalen Hurts' strength. I'm a little worried about Kelsey retiring. The tush push was obviously a big part of their offense, but in a way, I feel like if they weren't leaning on that play so much, maybe it would spark the rest of the. We'll have to see what happens with that, because I don't think without Jason Kelsey they're going to be quite as good the tush push, but I feel like they may be better everywhere else this next season. So number 7, Jalen Hurts. I still believe that he's going to be a really really good starter for the better part of for over a half decade here in the NFL. Number 6, oldest player in my top 10 list. And this one, I'll just tell you who it is. Number 6, I have Matthew Stafford. And I think Matthew Stafford is a Super Bowl winning quarterback who's shown as recently as last year, he's still got plenty left in the tank to me. I think he really, really sometimes is even underappreciated from just a raw talent standpoint. Really throws one of the better balls still in the whole NFL. That was one of his big things coming out of college, was the arm talent was just off the charts. And some of the stuff that Mahomes does, Matthew Stafford was kind of a trailblazer for the no look pass and stuff like that. Some of the sidearm angles. Now Mahomes obviously took it to a whole nother level and has the mobility, unlike Stafford. But I think the Rams are a total bounce back team. And I think Stafford is just someone I trust in big moments at this point. And he is someone on the list. Like, do I think he's going to have as good a regular season maybe as Love or Herbert or Jalen? Maybe not, but when it comes to a big moment, that's who I really would trust. Uh, I think the most out of that group, and I think he's playing in that division, playing with McVay. They have this very Golden State Warriors kind of feel almost, where it's okay. The brainiacs of the NFL, the composure. They obviously are able to put offensive talent around him. I think like I said, he's just someone I trust in big moments. Which, before we move on to the top 5, any problems so far, Alex?
Yeah, just one. Okay, so I've not given up on Trevor or Herbert, but it's it's hard for me to put both of them in the top 10.
See,
But the biggest one to me is I do love Hurts, and I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. He is not a top 10 quarterback
it was
this year.
bad this last year. Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
if we're going just off this last season, which, like I said, this list is a
for
combination
the I
projection
get that.
forward and the whole history of a player. Because off this last season, there's no way to argue Jalen Hurts had a top 10 season this last year.
No,
It's even if the numbers weren't as bad as it's the eye test was bad, man. So it's like, yeah, I totally agree. If we're just going off the most recent season, there's no way you could argue he's a top 10 guy.
uh, excuse me. Well, the 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 NFL is such a what have you done for me lately
Yeah.
that you just kind of have to like accept that, what have you done for me lately? That's what I'm going to build off of.
Yeah.
And so I could see taking Hurts out completely, putting Brock Purdy just under Love.
You see, I just couldn't put Brock ahead of Jalen. It's like, why
What are
not?
you talking about?
Well, it's let's okay, their best season, both kind of the same. It's like they both had a great team. They both got to the Super Bowl and lost to Patrick Mahomes. I thought Purdy had a nice Super Bowl. I thought Jalen played his very best game in the Super Bowl. And I don't think that was true for Brock Purdy. And I think Jalen, he kind of had the fumble, but I think really played as good of a game as I've ever seen him play in the Super Bowl outside of one big mistake. Now, that was a big mistake.
That was an entire year ago.
I know, I know.
We're going off of what we expect to happen. I much more expect Brock Purdy to continue to develop than for Jalen Hurts to kick it. He's already operating. He's already working so hard to have learned and gotten as far as he's gotten. Like it's like whenever you take the ACT or the SAT, yeah, like the first one is fine, and then the second one is where you actually get your bump, and then you keep taking them, and maybe you get like a point or two in the ACT.
Right.
Like
I
maybe you get like a point or two, but it's never like another massive bump. And that's kind of how I feel about Jalen Hurts. Like he took an amazing step forward, but just to get back there, he has to take another two steps
gotta get
back.
back. Yeah. And like I said, this is some projection, but basically, in short, why do I have Brock Purdy behind Jalen Hurts still? At their best, I've seen Jalen Hurts play better than Brock Purdy, and I think Brock Purdy is pretty damn close, if not at his ceiling already, is my short answer. I think sometimes these limited guys that have 4 years starting experience in college that what's Brock Purdy gonna get way better at? You know what I mean? He's not, because the things that some guys take time to develop, he's already really good at. Okay, anticipating throws, kind of throwing guys open, hitting people in stride. That's already what he's good at. He's not going to get faster, probably. He's not going to all of a sudden develop a cannon for an arm. So I think Brock Purdy is already kind of at his ceiling where, and like I said, I've seen at their best Jalen Hurts play better than Brock Purdy, period, point blank. So that's why I still have him ahead. And again, this is including, I need the ceiling to beat Mahomes, right? And we just saw Purdy. I thought Jalen played a better Super Bowl. I know they both lost by 3 points in the end. I would, from what I saw out of both those games and the playoff runs before, I think Jalen would give me a better shot if he's playing his best than Brock Purdy.
Well,
And let's not, the running element when you're playing a team, in postseason football is important because you can chew up the clock and keep him away. And Brock Purdy's a good athlete and made some scrambles in the playoffs that I want to give him a lot of credit for. And he was probably my last guy out of my top 10, to be honest. But he's not really a design quarterback run guy. And that's one of the things that Jalen's really good
but
at.
also with Jalen Hurts, he wasn't running either at the like towards the tail end of last year because he's hurt. You know why he's hurt? Because of freaking tush push and
Right. Well,
getting
I
on
think yeah, if he's hurt, that's obviously would remove him. Who wanted the top 10 this
That's
past year
like
with Aaron Rodgers because he played 4 snaps.
you
So
got you got to. I mean, I'm on your side with the Aaron Rodgers thing, but like you got to also remember that like he if you're if he's going to be a quarterback who has those designed runs available, then you
right.
have to hang your hat on him being as strong. And I'm not saying anything about his strength and conditioning because Jalen Hurts is a monster. But I am saying that like it gives me a little bit of pause that that they had to shy away from that big cornerstone of his game because he was dealing with some nagging injuries. And that's not what you want. And
Well,
Brock Purdy, like
we'll talk about the rest of this, but people were saying the same thing about Lamar. And just side note, real quick, this is just another take I was totally right about was last offseason when teams weren't going after Lamar. I said that was freaking crazy that the Falcons and Patriots weren't calling Lamar Jackson trying to get him in the building. And what a stupid thing those franchises did. And now they're going to be playing with a rookie quarterback or Justin Field. It's like, man, you could have, Lamar literally won the MVP. But people were saying the same thing about Lamar. He comes back, has a healthy season, wins the MVP, gets to the conference championship game and loses the Pat and then play particularly good in that game. But, that's not because he was hurt. wasn't because he was injured. He just didn't know. He just had a bad game, man. It's like it happens. People on Sunday when they're playing with Tiger Woods, a lot of times struggle. Do you know what I mean?
All right, I think we both have been pretty doubters, and I think that I'm trying to change my colors. I'm not gonna say he's a top five quarterback in any
Right.
regard, but
He
I'm not. I'm gonna see. I'm excited to see what he does next year.
Here's my last anti-Purdy for being in the top 10. Why I didn't have him, because I thought about him over Trevor and Herbert. Okay. Here we saw him play in the Super Bowl against Mahomes with maybe the best roster you would be able to put together in the NFL, and all of them were basically healthy outside of a freak Drake Greenlaw injury to start the game, where he's running on the field, and they lost. The roster is not going to get any better. Yeah, like I said, I don't know how much better he's going to get as a player. That's not a knock on him, and it's credit for him kind of already being as good as he is. But we saw him with probably the best roster anyone's going to be able to put together in the whole league. Like if anyone has a roster as good as the Niners this year, I'll be shocked, man. It's like I don't think there's going to be a roster that good, and they didn't win. It's like it was close, man. I'll give. He played good. It was a close game. Did he miss a couple throws that maybe would have won it? Yeah, he did. It's just I want the next level talent if I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. That's what I'll say. And I think Jalen Hurts is a more upside player.
All right, number 5.
Number 5, newbie on the list here. This is gonna be a little bit of a hot take. Alex maybe already knows who it's about to be. Number 5, I have CJ Stroud, man. He's played one season in the league. I was pretty blown away by his rookie season. And do we want to see some more of it before he's firmly a top 5 quarterback in the league? Absolutely. But I'm telling you, if I had to take, there's nobody that I've already named that I'd rather have than CJ Stroud for this next season. There's just nobody. CJ Stroud's ability to put the ball on the money off platform, but also to stay in the pocket and read the defense. He processes things unbelievably quick, not just for a rookie, but he's already an elite processor. And I mean elite, where he gets that ball out quick, which they have needed to with Houston because they do not have the best offensive line. Still, really do not have a running game at all. And he's still won a playoff game. And I think they're going to get better around him. I expect the defense. Frankly, I expect that defense to be really, really good. They have the right guy running the defense, and CJ is going to be the offense. And I think the offensive coordinator pretty soon, essentially, in Houston. I think they should be as excited as anyone that's not Kansas City right now, basically. That's what I'll say about them. They're in a great spot. They can be able to bring in free agents. They're going to have draft picks. They're really in a good spot. And CJ, his ability, he reminded me of Burrow and Mahomes a little bit. Like some of these throws that he makes, just the accuracy that he has on the ball, both down the field, on the move, out of the pocket, kind of odd angle throws, high throws to the sideline. It's all looks easy for him, and I don't know that he makes it look so easy. I don't know that people quite appreciate how good he was playing sometimes. And that happens every once in a while with sports, where we see guys who almost kind of make it look too easy, where you don't it's like, oh, it's so easy for him that it doesn't look like it's the level of difficulty isn't appreciated because it doesn't look difficult for CJ. You know what I mean? So that's why I have CJ up there, man. You go kick the Browns' ass in a playoff game and win Rookie of the Year. It's like I'm a big CJ fan. I almost had him. No, that's not true. I think he could move up this list this season. I'll put it that way. And you talked about, I think after the Super Bowl, he's probably I think he was the guy that you thought might be able to knock the Chiefs off in the AFC, right?
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think they're gonna have the defense for it. They should really think about bringing in Saquon. To me, they'll have the money for it.
I want Saquon on the Tampa Bay team. That he can't be on both teams, Tate.
Either way, yeah.
Basically, he could make all the
If Tampa
points.
doesn't have the money, if they're going to draft one, I would love to see Saquon with CJ because I think that would help a lot. Saquon also catches the ball. Uh, yeah. So CJ, I think we've seen enough, man. I think he's a top 5 player in the league. There's not anyone I named before that I would take above CJ Stroud right now, frankly.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, and this is where everyone at this point is really, really good. This is the cream of the crop, as they say. This is the 4 easy. It's really easy to have these guys as your top 4. It's really hard to put them in order to me. I have Lamar 4, and Lamar is a winner. I think he is one of the most unique players I have ever seen in any sport. I think in the regular season, he might be second on my list, frankly. I think he's a very consistent regular season player. However, in the biggest spots, we have seen him struggle. Look no further than last year's conference championship game. Play a bad game, man. And when you're playing Pat, that's not going to get it done. And the Chiefs were kind of able to coast to a win in that game. The one time it was a one-score game in the second half, they threw the pass to MVS, and it was ball game. It wasn't even particularly close, kind of anticlimactic because Lamar. Some of this is on the coaching, but he didn't have a great game against the Chiefs, frankly. So, and that's not the first time we've really seen him struggle in a big playoff spot. So, like I said, if it was just regular season, he'd probably be second on my list. But I couldn't put him above the 3 guys that I have ahead of him because, like we talked about, to win the Super Bowl, you're going to need A+ level quarterback play to get over the juggernaut at the top. That is Patrick Mahomes, who, spoilers again, is number 1 on my list. So let's just go. Number 3, I have someone that Alex is not going to like, but I'll tell you why. Number 3, I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen, we have seen play his best football in a playoff game against Patrick Mahomes, where the moment wasn't too big for him. And he is not, if it was just a regular season deal, he would be lower on my list than maybe just flipping him and Lamar, where I think there's an argument to be made that you'd rather have Stafford than Josh Allen. It's like there's a few guys that are going to be more consistent regular season performers, but his talent level and A+ game and the haymakers he can throw was frankly enough for me to still have him third. And yeah, is he going to have some head scratching weeks throughout the regular season? Absolutely. But if it's the conference championship game and I got to go to Cincinnati or go to Kansas City or even play in the Super Bowl, there's only 2 guys I would take ahead of him just because we've seen him play great in those spots. And the A+ game is just his ability to run and make plays kind of from the pocket and kill you with his legs, man, and run guys over is just rare, and it's hard to defend, and it makes his ceiling so high. Like I said, I think you need that ceiling, and this is a guy that would be frustrating in the regular season. But that leads me to the 2 guys that I think are better than Josh Allen. Number 2, I still have Joe Burrow, man. Until I see someone else knock Patrick Mahomes out in a playoff game, or maybe if Burrow got hurt for a season-ending injury even again this year, we'd have to rethink this. But I still have him as the second best player. And even this season, the one game they played a great team where he was healthy, they played the 49ers and beat the heck out of them, man. I mean, they really, really took it to the Niners. And Joe Burrow, frankly, played maybe as good of a game as any quarterback played all season, including Patrick Mahomes, in that 49ers game in the regular season. And they kicked their ass, and Joe Burrow looked like the elite player that he is. And yeah, injuries are a concern. No doubt about it. Injuries are a concern, but I've seen it, man. I've seen him go to the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line and a bad defense. I've seen him go to Arrowhead and beat Mahomes in the playoffs, and I've seen him go to Arrowhead and lose by a field goal, and I've seen him keep it close every time. And he's the only guy in the NFL who, when they're playing in the playoffs against Kansas City, can look across the field and think, "Yeah, I got this guy." He's the only guy. No one else has that feeling, and the psyche part of it, the middle part of it is important because everybody else is looking across the field at Patrick Mahomes thinking, "Oh f, man, it's Patrick Mahomes over there. We're gonna have to play just a perfect game." And Joe Burrow can look at him and say, "This is fine. We got it." You know what I mean? Like we can do this. And I don't think anybody else has that level of confidence and is thinking that right now. I think everybody else thinks they're in trouble when they line up across the field from him, and that leads me to number one.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there because have you spoken with any quarterbacks? Because none of them ever feel that way. They all think that they are the best person to ever do.
Okay, what are they gonna say in public, man? It's like it's different. I promise you. I promise you, it's different when you're on that side. Alex, I can see it that they're thinking that when Josh Allen tries to throw a lateral on the first drive of the game, that's a stupid play. I can see it when Lamar is going for home run shots instead of taking checkdowns and running the ball. See it when Lamar throws a pick in the end zone in triple coverage, man.
That's called
You don't
that's
have
called
to hear their
confidence.
interviews
Okay?
to see with
That's
your eyes and see that they're playing a different kind of game because they think they got to go for the home runs.
you're gonna get that ball past all three defenders because you're so much better. Yeah. No, I just
Same shit that used to happen. It's like when people used to play with Tiger and in the interviews, "Oh, it's gonna be fun playing with Tiger on Sunday. I'm excited about it." No one's excited about playing. They all crumbled, man. It's like they could say whatever they wanted. They could say,
all
"Yeah, I
right.
think it's gonna be a great learning opportunity to play with Tiger Woods on a Sunday at the Masters, and I'm right in it, and I think it's gonna go. I'm looking forward to it." No, I'm not nervous at all to play. And then they shoot 8 over for the day and they get, you know, 60th place in the tournament. And it's like, okay, maybe he was a little nervous to play with Tiger Woods, man. We see it all the time. It's like you don't have to hear it, man. The only one I'll give him credit. Brock Purdy played good against Patrick Mahomes. So did Jalen. It's like we've seen a couple guys do it, but we've also seen guys like Josh Allen, Lamar tighten up a little bit. And I think that's just gonna.
Yeah. Well, number one, I'm gonna give it to y'all, Patrick Mahomes.
That's
It's fine.
right.
Kate's already talked about it a million times. We don't have to talk about it anymore. I like that
I
it
disagree with that right now. No, not even,
I
not
like
even
that.
really a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Cool. So top 10, I like it. I like CJ Stroud at number 5. I'm really excited to see what he does.
Mine
Uh
too.
I do think that there is something, and we're gonna touch on this whenever we talk about LeBron, just in the overall like scheme of things. I've been thinking about a lot of like, all right, how do we weigh individual accolades or like, you know, how like eye test of a player versus getting a championship, just having postseason success.
Right.
And I think that it really is important to differentiate between the players who look the best in the regular season and the players who look the best in the postseason.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm not going to push back too hard on your putting Lamar at number 4 and Josh Allen at number 3. Like
That was a hard for me because I if someone had Lamar ahead of Josh Allen, I wouldn't push back too much on him.
they
Just
just did like the Super Saiyan like fusion technique, then we would have something
right.
here.
All it would take to beat Patrick Mahomes is to combine the third best quarterback in the league and the fourth best quarterback in the league and take all of their great aspects of both players, put them together, and then we might have someone that can compete. I agree. I got you.
you know,
Then we
the
might have an interesting AFC championship game.
miracle of science is that it's always advancing.
Right.
Technology is always getting better, so maybe we'll see it one day. But um I I have to say that I think Burrow is the second best quarterback. I think that he's also the number one most likely to have a season-ending injury any year that
I
he plays.
agree. Absolutely
And
agree. Yeah.
I because of that, like even in the Super Bowl, he got hurt. I was just looking at his injury. Like
Yeah.
he just he just
It's
gets
a concern.
hurt.
It is. Yeah, it's a concern. It's it's why there's such a big gap between him and Mahomes for me is the injuries because if he was no injury risk, I'm not going to say it'd be one of these great rivalries, but I think he would be. I don't know that he would be universally viewed as the second best quarterback in the league today. I'll put it that way. If he wasn't the injury risk, I don't think there would be an argument about 1 and 2, right? That's kind of where I'm at with Burrow. Like I said, I'm not gonna say it would be a total rivalry with him and Mahomes, but like, what if Burrow had stayed healthy and won it this year or something like that, where instead of Pat getting his third ring, it's 2-1 in favors of Mahomes and Burrow, going into the next season is just one away from tying him. It's like I could have seen that being the situation a little bit more if he wasn't such an injury risk.
Yeah, that's like it's something that I don't know how Cincinnati runs their business. Like we've said for years that they have a horrible offensive line.
Right.
They just haven't changed that. And if you have a franchise quarterback like Burrow, I think the
It's
first thing you
in.
do, like rather than play these games with like, are we going to be able to manipulate to keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? Are we going to, you
Right.
just say, no, I need a center, a left tackle, a right guard, and just do not let anybody come close to Burrow.
Alex,
Because
I totally agree 1000%. And I thought we talked about this, not on the podcast yet, but I thought it was a gutsy move for a lot of reasons for them to franchise T. Higgins. And now they still may trade him. And if I were them, that's what I would do because Burrow doesn't need 2 1s on the field to be successful. What he needs is Jamar Chase and some solid pieces and a great offensive line. Go get him a great, trade T. Higgins for 2 offensive linemen. It's like that's what I would do, and I would stock that offensive line up. Burrow's gonna make the weapons work, man. He
yeah,
just is. He's that level of guy.
and this is a thing that I just looking at how they build their roster and how they spend their money. I can't tell you where they're spending their money. I can't
That's
tell
not good.
you. I
Right.
couldn't tell you how they're spending their draft capital. I can't like just looking at it. I'm like, okay, so you got Burrow and you got T and you got Jamar Chase and you got Joe Mixon and like,
And Joe Mix is old. I don't know. He's gonna be on the team.
yeah, it's like,
Old for a running back.
what are we, what are we doing here? What are we doing, Cincinnati? Like,
It's like they need to go get the best right guard and best left tackle in the draft, man. It's like trade. You don't need T. Higgins on that team. It's like T. Higgins is a great player. You know what I mean? Great. T.
a
Higgins
lot of
is a
teams.
really, really, really good receiver that a lot of teams would love. Like Kansas City, the Giants would love T. Higgins. The Patriots would love T. Higgins.
Almost any team that doesn't have Justin Jefferson or
Right. Yeah.
you know
It's
what I
like
mean?
T.
Like,
Higgins would be the best receiver. Jacksonville would love T. Higgins. It's like there's a lot of
yeah,
teams, that would really could use a T. Higgins on the team.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Bengals aren't one of them. It's like the Bengals are fine at receiver. Tyler Boyd, when you have Burrow and Jamar Chase as your one, is a plenty good number two, I think. You know what I mean? And maybe
yeah,
go draft somebody like someone later in the first round or, not even that late because you had a injured Burrow, didn't make the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's like go
yeah.
get Keon
They could have,
Coleman,
they
Florida
could
State,
have, they could have swept under freaking the Browns and got Jerry Judy.
Right,
And Jerry Judy would have been fine on that team.
right. Go get the kid that just ran the 4.2, Xavier Worthy. You know what I mean? It's like him and Jamar Chase, it's like that'd be fast, man. It's like you'd be Miami North.
Oh yes, Cincinnati, the
Right,
Miami of Ohio.
right.
God. we're on one today. All right, so I like the list. Couple of little hiccups here and there.
This baby, you know.
Um, I'll hold my tongue about the Baker Mayfield disrespect because
He's
he's gonna crack that top 10, man.
We
He's
love Baker on this show, man. It's like Baker couldn't quite put him above anybody. You know, it's like I don't know that I could quite put him above Purdy. So he wasn't even the next guy. You know what I mean? But he was. We're rooting for him over here. You know, it's like we
better
love
than
to see
Dak and Kirk, that's for sure. I'm gonna put him above those two.
him
I
and
don't
Dak
care.
would
Come at me.
right. Him and Dak would be an argument to be made. You know, that'd be a bold argument maybe, but you know, it's like. But here's what Baker didn't do is just totally shit the bed against Green Bay in the playoffs. Give him that. You know what I mean? It's like he certainly looked better against Philadelphia and the Lions than Dak did against Green Bay in the playoffs this past year. So it's like he got that working for him, you know.
Yeah, so you got to do both. You got to do regular and
And if,
post.
yeah, I was about to say if the playoffs matter, it's like maybe Dak was a 9 in the regular season, Baker was a 6 or 7. It's like Dak was a 0 in the playoffs and Baker was a 6 or 7. You know what I mean?
But all right, so we're I got a church that I got to be at in a little bit, so we're gonna talk about. All right, LeBron James scores over 40,000 in his career. Huge deal. Contextualize it right now. What does that mean for this Lakers team? What does that mean for him being able to will another team to limp back into the postseason? What are we thinking?
So just so the 40,000 point mark, just so everyone understands, no one ever thought Kareem's record was going to be broken. Kareem has 38,000 something points, right? It's like that was almost viewed when I was a kid, not quite like this, but like it was almost viewed like Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, where it's like no one's going to break Kareem's record. In fact, when Kobe scored 81, I think people thought Wilt's record was going to be more breakable than Kareem's. So the fact that LeBron has eclipsed it by, 1,000 points plus and counting at this point, I think there's an element of us underappreciating LeBron James. And I think it has become a very tainted argument where you either, and he's kind of a polarizing guy, eh, LeBron, just a little bit, but I think a lot of that is just because of how he's covered. It's some of the things that he said, calling himself the greatest player of all time. People don't like. I don't like that. But I think there's an element of underappreciation for the longevity aspect of LeBron because it is unbelievable. And Alex, it's not like he's scoring 7 points a night now and just kind of slowly. He is still the best player on a playoff team, which is unbelievable in year 21. And it's not like anything we've ever seen before in basketball. It's not like it has made us even underappreciate some of the other players that we're seeing in the league, like Steph Curry, who is still an elite player after the age of 35 as a small guard. That doesn't happen. People are not still good small guards after the age of 35, but because of what LeBron's doing, people don't even notice how crazy what Steph's doing still is. Or Kevin Durant is is 36 with an Achilles injury, playing really good basketball, playing great basketball still. It looks like a top 10 player in the league. And people don't realize how crazy that is because LeBron is 4 years older than him and is maybe even better still, Alex. So it's really wild. And now we'll get more into this at another time. There are reasons why I don't think LeBron is the greatest player of all time. And I think the dominance Michael Jordan had over the league in the stretch of time when he was winning championships is basically unmatched in sports. And we'll talk, like I said, we'll get more into those details at another time. But I think this argument has become such a I'm either a LeBron guy and I hate Michael Jordan and everything that LeBron does is amazing and Jordan was playing against plumbers and sucked, right? Or it's the opposite where it's like, okay, I'm a Jordan guy. LeBron chokes and is just a compiler and the longevity is stupid and it's like who even cares about 40,000? No, man, they are both they're the two best players we've ever seen. So whoever you have second is the second best player we've ever seen. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like one of them's first and one of them's 20th or something like, it's just I hate the way that argument has become just so there's you I think we should be able to like two players at the same time. It's like I know that's a hot take. I think you should be able to
Hey,
like more than one great all-time player. You know what I mean?
hey, why would you say something so controversial?
I
Yet
know. It's like and I'll tell you right now too, we're gonna get into the same stuff with Mahomes versus Brady, where it's like people are gonna get into. I don't think Mahomes is gonna be quite as polarizing as LeBron. He's a really likable guy. If you don't like Mahomes, that's frankly on you because he doesn't do anything that people
like
think.
Mahomes, you didn't grow up watching the Muppets, and I feel.
Right. But like, it may not quite be as bad, but I feel like there's gonna be this. Oh, Mahomes like the refs have to win this, and Brady's won seven. No, man, it's we need to be able to appreciate an all-time great without having to say they are the single best player we've ever seen. We just need to be able to do that. And I want to change that mindset because I think we lose appreciation, like I said, not just for LeBron, but for what other players in the NBA are currently doing because of how LeBron is covered. Where, okay, if LeBron gets to 40,000 points and is playing great at age 39, year 21, we can appreciate what Steph and Kevin Durant are doing because we're not giving LeBron credit for what he's doing. So why would we give those two credit for being great at 36? You know what I mean? So it's really it drives me crazy sometimes. And yeah, I just think it's really, really almost underrated. Alex, when Michael Jordan got to 30,000 points, they gave him a trophy on the court and stopped the game, man. And like the 30,000 mark, basically for everybody else that's ever played basketball, has been a huge milestone to get to 30,000 points. I mean, huge. And then when LeBron gets to 40, it's like not even the first thing people talk about the NBA in March right now. You know what I mean? It's like
Well,
it's just odd to me.
you have to
Just
look at
odd.
how the Lakers are doing right now.
Which, but again, we the LeBron at year
I'm not.
21 is scoring more points than everybody else at year 21 combined by double or more. Okay. It's like he is not supposed to still be the best player on a team, let alone the best player on a team that might make the playoffs, let alone a team who, low key, I think they have the best chance of beating Denver in the West if it came
No,
to
that's
the season
wrong.
game series.
You're just wrong about that. But okay.
So the team that I would love to say is Oklahoma City, but it's a bad matchup because Oklahoma City doesn't play against size well at all. And we don't really have anyone who can guard Jokic, and they kind of do. I mean, Anthony Davis doesn't play his best, but it's at least a good defensive body to put on. It's like,
Well, okay.
and I said maybe. I said maybe. He's just not like I do. That wasn't a guarantee. We don't have to but anyway, so I want people to understand what we are seeing with LeBron, even if you're a Jordan person, even if you're a Kobe guy, see, his level of success at this point in his career just needs to be something that we all take in and appreciate, no matter what you think about his career, what you think about him in the all-time rank. It is unbelievable what we are seeing. It's like when Brady won the MVP or was what he was second in MVP voting at age 44 or something like that. This is as impressive as that. And I don't know that people are viewing it the same way, but it's the same level of longevity, like longevity greatness, however you would phrase that. But it's the same thing as when Brady was 44, almost winning the MVP. We're seeing something that is equally as impressive in the historical context of sports. And I don't think people are considering it like that. And
Yeah.
it's really, really cool. that we're going to see it, frankly. And like I
Sus-
said, look,
Sustained greatness is yeah. I mean, I think you're right. Like we we got to take some of the, but I guess where it comes down to is like actual semantics. Like to be the GOAT, you have to be the greatest of all
right,
time. So if there's ever a question, then that's where it comes in because people
all
have
right.
their
And
thought.
to that point, that's the conversation around LeBron always. It's not is he a great basketball player? That's been established a long time ago. It's is he the greatest of all time? And we don't typically across most sports look at the longevity argument as the number one priority as far as who's the greatest of all time. I'll give you a cross sports example because I like talking about this guy all of a sudden, and I compared Pat to him a little bit, but like Jack Nicklaus has 18 majors in golf and was great from he was when he was 20 years old and was great when he was 45 years old. Everyone that watched Tiger Woods thinks Tiger Woods is better. Tiger Woods wasn't as good as long. He didn't win as many majors. If you watch Tiger, you said this was the best basketball player, or not the best basketball player. This was the best golfer of all time. You know what I mean? That's Michael Jordan to me, where Michael Jordan, the fact that he led the league in scoring every year they won the championship, I don't know that people realize the individual dominance to go with the team winning. It's just, I don't know that we've seen anything like that in any team sport. Maybe I don't know hockey. So Gretzky, I'm not an expert on Wayne Gretzky. I know he has cartoonish numbers in the hockey world. I'll let someone else do that research for me at some point. But in football, basketball, there has never been individual dominance to go with team success like Michael Jordan had. Even Bill Russell, they won 11 championships. It was a question who was better, Bill or Wilt. There was no question. Michael Jordan was head and shoulders above everybody else in the league at that time, in playing against some all-time great players. Won his first championship against Magic Johnson. Knocked off Karl Malone and John Stockton, who people are like, well, they didn't even win. They didn't win a ring because Michael Jordan didn't let them get a ring. It's like they played him twice. They were a great team. They were all-time greats, and they couldn't beat him. You know what I mean? In the last finals, he frankly, the team wasn't even very good around him and they still couldn't be, it's like he just kind of willed it to win. So, like I said, the individual dominance to go with the team success over that 8-year stretch where they repeated, then, lost in the play, you play baseball, then they lost in the playoffs, but then they three-peat again is just it's not like anything we've seen, even from the Patriots dynasty, even from Brady and Belichick. Because even Brady, we talked about this a little bit. There was a question: is it Brady or Manning better? Early in Brady's career, and then there was maybe after Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, there's somewhat of a credible argument: is Aaron now the best quarterback in the league? He wasn't, but at the time, that was an argument to be made. You know what I mean?
Man,
And
well,
and Jordan, like I said, having there was never a question. And it's like the effect he kind of had on everybody was just it was just different. And go back in and people may say tape Michael Jordan was had his first three people. I have gone back and watched every playoff game from Michael Jordan's finals runs and then some of his earlier ones, but at least every single playoff game he played in all six finals runs. And you just the eye test would tell you. I mean, it's just different watching him. And seriously, go back and watch those playoff games. It's like I think people forget sometimes, except for the Jordan diehards who watch him, kind of remember. But it's like it's really not like anything you've ever seen before. So yeah, I didn't mean to get into the Jordan stuff, but shout out to LeBron for reaching 40,000. I think that's amazing, and I think it's really cool that he's still as good as he is. And even the Lakers, we'll see how they do in the postseason. They need to get out of the 9-10 spot probably. Like right now, they are 9. They need to really try to pass Dallas because it'd be hard to win 2 play-in games, then go play Oklahoma City, and then go play Denver. That's a big ask out of any team, let alone a team whose best player is in year 21 and 39 years old, and other best player is Anthony Davis, who's injury risk. It's like I don't know if I want him playing any extra games if I can help it. You know what I mean? So, uh,
yeah.
But like I said, really, really cool to reach 40,000 points.
Shout
Probably,
out LeBron.
probably not. Just side one last thing on that, Alex. That's probably not something we're gonna see again in our lifetime. I mean, we might, but I think I heard this, and I don't want to steal a stat directly from somebody else. But if Wimby averaged 35 points a game moving forward here and played, I think it was like 70 games a year, which Wimby, but for the record, is not going to average 35 points a game and is probably not going to play 70 games a year. It would take him 16 seasons at 35 points a game, 70 games a year to get to 40,000.
Dang.
Just for like, which, like I said, is just flatly not going to happen. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to see this again. Like, someone would have to be so good, so fast, early, not get hurt. Because that's the LeBron never got hurt, basically. He missed one season with the groin injury, he missed about 30 games. But he never really got hurt besides that. And then he scored 27 points a game from age 19 to age 39. It's like that's whole it's 40,000. You know what I mean? It's like exactly what it's saying. It's just a lot of points, man. It's just
It's a lot. Well, I,
it's,
I think I think LeBron James is really going to appreciate the shout out of two dudes on a
right.
podcast that 11 people watch. So
Yeah,
this one, for
anybody
you,
watching this that knows LeBron personally, go ahead and give him my phone number. You know what I mean? It's like we can chop it up.
this opportunity for
All
him.
right.
All right, Tate. I think that's it.
Thank you
So
everybody for listening. We appreciate the follows, whatever. As always, y'all have a great day. Thank you for listening.